My name is Dagenais. I'm one of the volunteer preview speakers with the Lyric Opera Guild, and I'd like to talk to you about the opening production of the Lyric Opera season for 2010-2011, which is Georges Bizet's Carmen. Now, Carmen, what can we say about Carmen? It's the most popular opera ever written. It has been said that somewhere in the world every night Carmen is being performed. It's really astonishing to think about that. As a matter of fact, it's got to be the most popular opera because surely no other opera is performed every night somewhere in the world. And I think that if you think about it further, you realize that there probably isn't any musical comedy or play or any other kind of stage property which is being performed that often. So I think it's probably fair to say that Carmen is the most popular stage property ever created. Now, that's really an astonishing statement, and we must ask ourselves why. Why is it that this rather simple story of a gypsy girl and a Spanish soldier has had such popularity for so many years? Well, I think that unlike many questions, this one really may have a fairly simple answer. And the answer is that Carmen has everything. Everything you could want in a stage performance. It's got lust, love, passion, violence, betrayal, murder. I mean, everything. Be sure to bring the kids. The whole family will love it. Let's talk about what happens in the music of Carmen, because it's not only the story, which is a fascinating story full of interesting characters, but it's really the music of Carmen which makes it as appealing as it really is. The opera set in Spain around the year 1800, so it's full of Spanish influences, and Georges Bizet, the composer, did a wonderful job of composing this very atmospheric music for this piece, which is about people in Spain. Now, the interesting thing is that Georges Bizet never went to Spain. Some of his colleagues suggested that he go to Spain while he was composing Carmen, and he said he couldn't imagine why that was necessary. He could write perfectly good Spanish music while sitting in Paris, which is what he did. But when we think about Spain and Spanish music, the tunes to Carmen just automatically come to mind. We think of the great Toreador song. We think of the arias that Carmen has sung. This is the music which is part of the fabric of our consciousness, even though we may not be opera fans and may not even realize it. When we think of Spain, we think of the music of Carmen. The score has lots of wonderful highlights, and Bizet was a genius at lending atmospheric effects to his musical scores. Almost all of his music has very interesting settings, and he was able to convey that by musical means alone. So there are lots of great highlights in Carmen. When we start to think about the character Carmen, we think about her two great solo numbers, her two arias, which are called the Habanera and the Seguidilla, named after Spanish types of tunes. But we also have the famous Toreador song, sung by the bullfighter, the matador, which is one of the most popular melodies ever composed in opera or anywhere else. There's a wonderful scene in Act 3, a card-playing scene, which has some great, very atmospheric music in it, where three gypsy girls are playing cards and they discover their fates, their futures, and Carmen's is a very dark one. We have a wonderful quintet in the second act. This is one of my favorite parts of the score. It's actually when a series of gypsies are plotting a raid, a crime. And they have a lot of fun doing it, and they sing this rapid-fire quintet. There are 5 of them, and it's just wonderful music. No, I guarantee you, 5 people have never had so much fun plotting a crime, ever. And it's one of the great scenes, I think, in Carmen. But I want to talk for a minute about the flower song, because Don Jose, who's the soldier in this piece, he's a young man, and he comes back in Act 2 of Carmen, having spent a month in jail. He was jailed for letting her go originally in Act 1, so he comes back in Act 2, and she's not sure whether he really cares about her or not, and he reaches in his vest pocket and he pulls out a flower, which she had given to him, actually thrown at him in Act 1, and he's picked it up and he's kept it all that time, and this wrinkled, crumpled flower, and he says, "This flower I kept all the time I was imprisoned, and it reminded me of you." And the song he sings is a wonderful evocation of love and passion for somebody, and an appeal for them to love him as well. I think that Carmen's popular because of the great story, the great passions involved, the atmospheric effects that Bizet was able to translate into this score, and just quite simply the beautiful music. Even the minor characters in Carmen, the people who just walk on and say a line or two and then walk off, even they have wonderful music to sing. The role of Carmen is one that every mezzo-soprano wants to sing, and every mezzo-soprano of any heft at all, vocal heft at all, has tried to sing this role over the years. There are many, many great portrayals of Carmen that have occurred over the years. Although although I think that really the key role in the opera is not so much Carmen, but the role of Don José. Because Carmen is this sort of uninhibited force of nature. She stays pretty much the same from the beginning of the opera all the way to the end. Don José is the one who changes. He starts out as a loyal soldier, and then he betrays his company, and then he descends into criminality, and finally, by the last act, into murder. So it's really his story, is the story of Carmen. Probably the greatest singing actor ever to portray roles in the world of opera was the Russian-based Boris Shalyapin, who was an early proponent of the Stanislavski theory of acting. This is about 100 years ago in Russia. And he was a marvelous actor, and because he had a terrific voice, he could become an opera singer. So he was the leading bass of his time, and he was a compatriot of Caruso's and sang with him in many operas. Anyway, Shalyapin was once asked whether he ever regretted not being a tenor. And he said only once, and that is when he saw a performance of Carmen, because he thought the role of Don José was the greatest role for a singing actor in all of opera. Interesting commentary. So, Carmen has it all, and I know that you will enjoy it. I plan to be at the Lyric Opera for it, and I hope to see you there.